No matter what, not every street photography outing goes perfectly. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I picked one of the harshest times of day during a hot Jerusalem summer to go out and shoot. And I'm going to show you how to work with what you've got, even when the conditions aren't ideal. It could go for a rainy day. In this case, it was a harsh, sunny day. I'm Rebecca Kowalski, and I love sharing anything photography and video with you. My goal is to grow together in this art form that we love, whether we're professionals, amateur photographers, hobbyists, or just we love taking photos. And everything that we talk about is relevant for you. If you have a regular camera or a smartphone camera, it will all be relevant. The key is your eye, your heart, and your intention in telling your story, whatever your story is. I tell all my students, and I tell myself, get your composition right in the camera. The first thing that I want to talk about is think about what your frame is saying. Our goal is to get as much of what we want in the frame and as few distractions as possible. Now, this is certainly harder in street photography than in controlled studio work or other controlled environments, but we can do the utmost in order to get it right in camera. We have to try. I want to stress this to you, and I stress this to all my students in my workshops. Get in the habit of working in your camera, not saying, oh, I'll crop it later, I'll fix it later. Yes, sometimes you can't get close in. We all edit in post-processing, especially in street photography where we have less control. But our foundation should be built in camera and trying to get our best shot. Maybe walk a little closer, go a little higher, go down a little lower, go from a different angle. We do need to crop. And that could happen often, especially when we're trying to catch a moment in street photography. And if we walk, we'll miss it. Or if we move, we'll miss it. We might not have the time to zoom our camera lens or walk in closer. That's okay, as long as it doesn't become our go-to method. I usually go out with my 35mm Zeiss fixed lens, 2.8, because it's compact, it's wide enough, and it can capture most situations. I do have a 24-70 lens, which gives me more width and more flexibility, but look how bulky it is. I want to be able to move around and be flexible, and sometimes a larger lens can scare people. I have a 50mm lens, which lets me get a little closer in. And once in a while, I even have taken out my 85mm lens to go out. There are advantages and disadvantages to each focal length. And if all you have is a zoom lens, go for it. You can create art with any lens. Remember, it's your eye, your heart, and your intention. Working in harsh conditions is sometimes not easy. What we should say to ourselves is not to fight it. We should work with it and use it to our advantage. We want to adapt to the conditions and not fight them. So I'll be honest about this outing that I recorded and went out to do for myself as well as for you. It wasn't the best street photography session that I had. I chose the harshest time of day on a very hot summer day. It meant that there were harsh shadows and probably less people and less activity out in the midday. But instead of fighting it, I worked with it, and I actually took advantage of what it had to offer. You'll see some shots where I'm standing from above the entrance to the railway station. Now there's this gigantic area, almost like an ellipse, where the sun hits, creating a dramatic contrast between the bright sunlight and the very deep, dark shadows, and it's a harsh edge. Position myself to capture people moving through the zones, but mainly to catch them in the harsh light so that my subject was well lit and I could emphasize the contrast. The harsh shadows were where the story was, and the color wasn't adding to the narrative. So most of these images you'll see, I converted them from color to black and white. Remember, we talked about this. Color is important when it is the story. But when it's not, it can actually detract from your image. One of the shots has a lone young woman in a bright blue dress. I left that one in color because the bright blue is stark with the harsh light and shadow. Even though I like to focus on people in street photography, the buildings in a city can tell us so much. So don't be afraid to get some architectural shots of old decrepit buildings or cool, sleek, modern buildings. What is one of the most important parts of street photography, in my opinion, is patience and position. I often stay put in one place and wait for a situation to unfold. This brings me to one of my favorite street photography techniques that I've taught my students is find a spot with good light or interesting movement, or both of course, and just stay there and wait. Wait for someone interesting to pass by, an interesting character or an interesting scene to evolve. You'll see this in action at the railway station entrance. I found my position, I waited, and would have stayed there for a very long time if I didn't say to myself, keep moving. But it was the patience of staying there and not being tempted to move on. And sometimes that best shot comes to you if you just wait. I had one particularly good example, even a few meters away, where there were these silver bars and a woman with a red suitcase walked through my frame. That pop of red was so important to the image that I kept that one in color, while a few of the others with people walking by this silver bar structure, I had to change them to black and white because the color totally distracted. Now, when you are going to a location, especially in a place that you're familiar with, and if you're not, try to find out where the interesting photogenic spots are. This photogenic spot in Jerusalem, right near the central bus and railway station, the String Bridge. It's right outside both stations, and it's a piece of art at the northern entrance of the city. And I love its stark simplicity. Many of my images here use some negative space, just showing the elegant bridge against the blue sky. There are some other interesting framed images I thought I liked. The bridge itself is beautiful, and sometimes that's enough. These I kept in color, though it could really work equally well, in my opinion, in black and white because of the stark lines and the contrast between the bridge and the blue sky. Now, what's one of the most common questions I get about street photography? The ethics of street photography. Oh, I think every person that I've taught asked me, are you allowed to photograph people you don't know? Do you need to ask permission? This topic and this question deserves repeating because it's so important. You have to feel comfortable with what you're doing. We're working in public spaces where photography is generally accepted and it is allowed. There are security cameras everywhere in most major cities in the world, so people understand that their privacy in public is limited. My approach is to be inconspicuous, not because I want to sneak photos, but because I don't want to disrupt the natural movement of the moment or the natural emotion of that moment. Sometimes if somebody notices me, I'll use body language, I'll point to my camera, I'll meet their eye to indicate I'm taking a photo. If they object, I respect that and I move away. If they don't seem to care, I continue. Or if they don't notice, I do not ask permission. The key is to read the situation and be respectful and attentive when you have to be. Now, we talked about color versus black and white, and I don't want to dwell upon it because it is the subject of our last video, but I will remind us, make intentional, creative choices. Let me show you how I decide between color and black and white. We want to make decisions that are meaningful to us. Look at the image of the two women walking with that negative space of the white wall. Works far better in black and white. There's really no compelling reason for color, so I stripped away the color. But if we look at the man sitting in the red shirt in front of the station, the color adds some strength to the image, whereas the other gentleman who doesn't have colorful clothing, I found him more interesting in black and white. These are the creative choices that you as the photographer get to make. And we talk about it, we'll continue to talk about it. There's no right or wrong answer, just intentional decisions. And of course, we want to use the rules to help guide us, and then we want to break them sometimes. One of the main takeaways I would like to share with you is that persistence pays off. Even though this wasn't an ideal shooting day as far as weather or as far as activity in the city, it was the day I set aside to do this, and I came away with some interesting people, some compelling scenes, and for sure some dramatic plays of light and shadow. So what I'd like to impart to you is go out on the streets. Don't give up. Even when it's not a perfect day, you can usually find a few images that you're happy with, and sometimes you'll get even a lot more than you might have expected. Either way, the experience will hone your skills, and especially when we travel and we want to capture images of a new city and its rhythm, we don't always have the opportunity to go back. Maybe we can go more than once. We usually don't have the opportunity to go back more than once or twice. So it's good to get out and make the best of your situation and practice that even in your hometown. And when you are in your hometown, the key is go out, don't give up, and revisit the same places at different times of day, different weather conditions, different seasons. Each time you're going to get different results because there's always going to be different scenes and different people. That's the beauty of street photography. The streets are always changing, and there's always another shot waiting for you, waiting for us. I want to thank each of you for reaching out, for sharing. I love that we're connected through the YouTube and on Instagram. I've seen so much work of all of you guys. Feel free to follow me if you haven't yet at Rebecca Co Photo. I look at everybody's work. And for those who have reserved one-on-one Zoom session to go over your work, I'm really excited for that. Stay connected. I'm already working on the next video for you. Comment below and tell me what other topics you'd like to discuss, things you'd like to learn and delve deeper into. And go out and shoot, and I'll see you in the next video.